All right, we're about to start Q&A.
Our Father which art in heaven,
Our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy kingdom come,
thy will be done in earth,
thy will be done in earth,
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Give us this day our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts,
and forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
In Jesus' holy name we pray.
In Jesus' holy name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. All right, so mic check, is that good? All right, well, the floor is open, y'all. Look like it's going to be a short one today. Let me get the, let me just pull up YouTube. Hey, it sound like it. Say it again.
No, as long as, is he green?
Oh.
Oh. Tell him.
Hey, the mic ain't on the,
I don't think she heard me talk.
Well, no, I don't think the speakers in the house is on.
okay, that's fine.
Is it working?
Because we don't need it. Although, no. It would be it's number 4.
Yeah. It's B9. It says B9.
All right, indeed. Let me just,
I'm not going first, bro. I'm holding it.
all right, that's the,
Bro, I got you, bro. Yo, what
right.
is wrong with everybody today?
ain't nothing, that was just the, it's Q&A, it's the first question. All right, who else is coming at your neck?
We gonna keep moving forward.
All right. Nah, just because I said Jake during the lesson, but you know I meant these Jakes. Okay, all right. I was like, you know what I mean? I meant to specify, but I knew you knew. But I'm trying to pull up YouTube on here. But go ahead, Sister Robin, if you wanted to ask your question.
Okay, my question is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1. I'm trying to get an understanding for the will.
Okay,
I think it's the will in the middle of the will.
got you. All right, give me 1 second.
And what is the significance of that? Or what does it signify?
You sound like you may already have some inkling of that. Did you hear something from somebody saying it signifies something?
No, it just came to me
Okay.
that
Yeah, I mean,
that there was the will in the middle of the will has some significance today, being in the last days.
okay. We're going to read it, but I'll tell you, none that I can think of, you know, because he's given us a description of how the angels look. But, and I can't think of any other scriptures that would, you know, show some significance to them. All right, got this online up. So, I'm going to go to Ezekiel. Let's see, what is it, chapter 3?
I think she said 1.
Was it chapter 1? Okay. All right, Ezekiel 1. And pick it up at verse 1 though.
Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Chabar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God.
All right, so first and foremost, these are just visions that Ezekiel's having. But skip down to verse 5 and go ahead.
Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man. And every one had 4 faces, and every one had 4 wings. And their feet were straight feet, and the soles of their feet were like the soles of calves' feet, of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass.
All right, so we see, though, so far, he's just giving us their description, as much of it as we need. He's telling us, there's 4 of them. He tells us their appearance is like a man. He tells us that they had 4 faces, that the sole of their feet was like a calf's foot, and that they sparkle like the color of burnished brass, similar to how he described, Satan with all type of precious gems and stuff. Also in Ezekiel, we see that they made from a different material. But go ahead.
And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides. And they 4 had 4 faces and their wings. Their wings were joined one to another, and they turned not when they went. They went every one straight forward. As for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man, and the face of a lion on the right side. And they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. They 4 also had the face of an eagle. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined one to another.
All right, so he's just telling us, again, giving us kind of a detailed description of their appearance. But go ahead and skip down to verse 15 and go ahead.
Now, as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures, with his 4 faces. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, and they 4 had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. Mm-hmm. When they went upon their 4 sides, and they turned not when they went. As for their rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them 4.
So, yeah, I really can't, say of any type of significance. He's just telling us what they look like. And he goes on to kind of describe them, but it's hard for me to visualize reading this exactly how something would look. And I can't think of any other scriptures that kind of line up with this. Like I said, nothing comes to mind for me, because the whole chapter, when you look at it in context, he's just telling you how they looked, Yeah. When there's symbolism in the Bible, you got other scriptures to explain what it means. And that's the whole key, because I can tell you it mean anything. But if you don't read it for yourself somewhere in the Bible, how are you going to know for sure? Just like when we go, there's plenty of stuff we could look at. Y'all probably all familiar with it. But let's read a little further. What verse was that?
That was 18.
Okay, because he's just going to describe how they move and, how they look. He let you know that they don't turn. Go ahead. You can pick it up at, you said 19?
Yeah.
All right.
And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, their wheels were lifted up. Whithersoever the Spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go. And the wheels were lifted up over against them, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels.
All right, so we only got what the Bible tells us. We see that the Spirit is in the wheels, and you can liken it to things like, we know where our spirit is, right? He said he put it in our nostrils. So, but that's all that we can go by, is to either relate it to things that the Lord has showed us, that we're familiar with, or if he somewhere explained, something about, this in further detail, which, like I said, nothing comes to mind. But I know, this is why I thought maybe you had already heard something, because it's such a specific question, the wheels, and are they significant? Because okay.
So I was thinking about what's going on in my life right now, and the Spirit just came to me and said, mention the wheel in the middle of the wheel. And it made me think about what's going on in terms of electronic devices, like the, the smartphone.
Well, you want him to take the mic back?
No, I'm just saying, in general, that the different electronic devices are being used for ungodly reasons.
Gotcha.
Just leave it like that.
True indeed. Yeah, I mean, I can't read anything, in the Bible. That's definitely the case with technology, as it advances. And, I was asking you earlier if you had a smartphone. I don't blame you, because without mine, I don't even know if I could navigate anymore, but as far as the wheels and the angels, nothing comes to mind that further, expounds on that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Got anything online? So. So on that note, though, we'll go over to Revelation 12 just to show how when the Bible give us something symbolic, it usually give us some other scriptures to kind of clear it up what it is. And maybe not in all cases, because the thing is, we don't want to speculate with the Bible. You know what I mean? Even like something that I think it might mean or whatever, I try to refrain myself from just giving people my opinion, because if I open the door to speculation on my end, somebody else it can do the same thing and tell you something that it don't mean, that's contrary to the Bible, and I didn't prove mine, they didn't prove theirs either. So I just try to, like, certain things like here with, we in Revelation, it's a lot of symbolism. And we can't find meaning for all of it. We understand in the context of what's being described, the end of the world in a lot of these chapters, and that there's a lot of war going on, people killing each other. I guess, we understand in the context that this has got to be talking about, war equipment, some of these descriptions. But it's things like this, like Revelation, we'll go to 12. And we done probably all read this plenty of times. Revelation 12, and pick it up at verse 1. All right, whenever you're ready.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
All right, so we know, this is something that if we didn't know where to go to kind of read it here a little and there a little, how to rightly divide it, we wouldn't know what this was talking about. But the answer, we know the Bible tells us all the way back in Genesis. So it say there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. Now we could read over and over in the Bible where Christ, he tells us in Ephesians 5, this is a great mystery when he talk about a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave unto his wife. He said, but he's really talking about, Christ in the church. You could read in Corinthians, this is 2 Corinthians 11, where Paul say, I'm jealous over you with godly jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband. We could see over and over the parable of the marriage of the Lamb, where the church is likened to a bride or a woman. So we got something to understand who this woman is, and we see her attire. She's clothed with the sun and the moon under. This is Revelation 12 and 1. That's all right. And it say, there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. So we go over to Genesis 37, and we can find the answer there. But, and like I said, the other stuff, some of the other things are contextual. And that's kind of what I get from Ezekiel, is you just got to look at it in the context, because he mentions a lot of things. The rings he mentions their wings, he mentions that they're made out of something like brass. So, being that he's already been describing all of this, it doesn't seem to be anything outside of the norm, outside of what he's been doing. He just further describing them in the terms that he knows. Everybody know shapes pretty much. So Genesis 37, I think it's like around verse 15. No, where?
It's higher up.
Okay. This page is stuck. All right. Yes, we'll pick it up at verse 9. Genesis 37 and 9. Because if it didn't tell us what it was talking about there in Genesis, then I wouldn't know specifically. I could maybe use the scriptures to talk about, the bride, talk about the church as being a woman, but we wouldn't know specifically that it was talking about this man's descendants. Genesis 37, and pick it up at verse 8.
And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him.
All right, so we're dealing with Joseph here. It tells us at verse 5, and he was a dreamer. His brothers hated him for it, and because his father, Israel, showed him, more love, it said he loved Joseph more than all his children at verse 3. So it said he dreamed another dream, told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. In other words, they bowed down to him. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and what?
And his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come down to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth?
All right, so we see the Bible explains it. It clears it up for us. It tells us the significance. Because, again, it tells us how to get knowledge and understanding of the Bible, right? It tells us we got to read it line upon line upon line, precept upon precept, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little. So if it's kind of going to clear up, anything, that's the way that it's going to be done. If something's going to have significance that's meant for us to know, we're going to be able to go in the Bible and read about it. Let's go back to Revelation 13. Go back to Revelation 13 and pick it up. And, you could read the whole story and then it makes sense. You see that, it explains to us in that same chapter who the dragon, is, and it tells us that was that old serpent. So it tells us another thing that we find was back in Genesis that was symbolic, right? It tells us that that's Satan and the devil. And, it explains, who was operating it, that this was the spirit, this dragon, behind trying to get Christ killed at his birth through King Herod. So it's explaining things in Genesis and in Revelation. They explaining each other. That's two things just in the same chapter. But let's go to chapter 13 and just pick it up at verse 1.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority.
All right, so now we looking at another symbolic thing, you know, and we know this comes out of Daniel, you know, the 7th chapter of Daniel. So that lets us know that, you know, John is just adding on to this same prophecy that Daniel had, the dream that he had. But again, if it didn't use these animals, I don't know, you know. I wouldn't be able to say what significance it had. So I can't think of any other scriptures dealing with the wheels. So, and in the context of it, he's just describing them the whole chapter. But I don't know if that helps answer your question. We'll and you know what the Spirit's supposed to do again is bring things to your remembrance. You know, whatsoever things Christ said, and show you things to come. You know, so if it's something of God, then it'll be a way to interpret if it was something, you know, meant to you. He'll give you the meaning in some way. But I can't think of anything in the Bible, you know, going any further about that. So hopefully that answers your question. Got anything else in the house? You got it. Yeah, it's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question, bro. Thank you. It's in Numbers. Actually, anybody got a? I thought that was right.
A lesson? Yeah, Numbers 12 with Moses. All right, that's where the next question is at too. So Numbers, that's all right. It's not that serious. I don't need it. Thanks. All right. Numbers. All right, peace, sis. Good to see you. Numbers 12, and we'll go online, if nothing else. Numbers 12 and 6, you said?
Where you say he spoke with him mouth to mouth?
Yeah.
Is that verse 6?
It's a little further
No,
down.
that's verse 8. Yeah, so. Yeah, I am, bro. I got it right in my hand. Yeah, well, that's because it wasn't a question. So. My question is to the mic on Numbers 12 in verse 8. It clearly states that the Lord is using, he's in first person tense, I think that is.
Yeah.
With him will I speak mouth to mouth. And
Right.
I constantly learn, and I know it's true because I read it for myself, that the Lord spoke with Moses. But then it makes, at least for me, I might be, maybe I need to study more. I don't know what it is, but I know also in the New Testament somewhere, and I know the Lord is only going to quote the Old Testament, but I know, I should have found the scripture first, but no man hath seen the Father except he that came from heaven. That's Jesus. So isn't that a direct contradictory to this?
Nah, how so?
Because if he met and saw Moses, then how did he? Oh, never mind. I answered my whole. All right, never mind. You.
All right.
Next question. I just remembered it.
That's all right.
All right.
Well, you can keep the mic. I ain't trying to walk.
All right,
down
never
and pass
mind.
it around.
Forget that question.
So just for anybody
Praise the Lord.
that you know online. Yeah, you know.
As soon as I say Father.
Yeah, it's always gonna be Jesus.
Yeah, it's
You know what I
always
mean?
gonna be Jesus, right?
That's the only one that they've talked to, heard the voice of, seen. you know. And then even still, it say he talked to him mouth to mouth, but it don't say he didn't see his face, right? Because we read in Exodus 34, and we'll go back there because that's just a you know, a term he's using, mouth to mouth. But yeah, we're gonna touch on it though, just for anybody, you know, online or
Let me
whatever.
see this hinder parts.
Because you just asked the same question, so we're gonna. Nah, the brother just asked, was that Jesus? Somebody online was asking about numbers, and we'll go there next after this. But yeah, Exodus 34, and it might end up being it'll be 33, and we're gonna pick it up at let's see, verse 16.
33:16.
You know what, man? Nation greeting, my presence shall go with thee. Yeah, that's cool. Start at 13.
33 and 13.
Yeah.
Now therefore, I pray thee, if I have found grace in thy sight, show me now thy way, that I may know thee, that I may find grace in thy sight, and consider that this nation is thy people.
All right, so he's saying to show him his way. He's saying, if I found grace in your sight, go ahead.
And he said, my presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest.
Uh-huh.
And he said unto him, if thy presence go not with me, carry us not up hence. For wherein shall it be known here that I and thy people have found grace in thy sight? Is it not in that thou goest with us? So shall we be separated, I and thy people, from all the people that are upon the face of the earth.
All right, so Moses asking the Lord to personally go with them to deliver them, because Israel was getting on the Lord's nerves, and God had told them, you know, he was going to send his angel to go and bring them into the land so that he didn't have to kill Israel. But Moses is asking for him to personally go. He says, so that I and thy people and all the people that are upon the face of the earth shall know that they separated. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, I will do this thing also that thou hast spoken, for thou hast found grace in my sight, and I know thee by name.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I beseech thee, show me thy glory.
All right, so he want to see the Lord's appearance, in other words. And what's verse 19 say?
And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee, and will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, thou canst not see my face, for there shall no man see me and live.
All right, so he said nobody can see his face and live. So it did say that he was talking with him mouth to mouth. But we see that obviously because he had been dealing with the Lord for some time, and he hadn't seen what he looked like yet. You know, the Lord was appearing, you know, with the pillar of the cloud, you know, the smoke and the fire, you know. We're going to keep reading, but yeah.
Now, so is that what you mean by when you saying, when he said he can't see him, see his face, and well, no man has seen his face and live.
Mm-hmm.
That's pertaining to how he's been coming to them at according to that moment in time, right?
Well, this is again what he say is that thou canst not see my. So he said you can't.
Right.
And then he say, so you know, we could read about where people saw God, but obviously they didn't see his face. Even you know, it's actually written before this. It happened before this in Exodus.
Yeah.
So at that point, huh?
With Jacob, right?
Not with Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, 70 of the elders. They all went up and saw the God of Israel and worshipped. Mm-hmm. You know, and they ate and drank with him. Mm-hmm. But after that, he's still saying, yeah, you can't see my face, Moses, and I'm going to show you my glory. So obviously they didn't see him in his full glory. Although they described, some of it, they said the body of heaven, was in his clearness. They said it looked like there was a sapphire stone of a paved work under his feet. So they saw him, but they didn't see him like this, obviously, because Moses asked him after that, and he said, all right, I'm going to do this, but what'd he say? Skip down.
21.
Nah, go ahead, 21.
And the Lord said, Behold, there is a place by me, and thou shalt stand upon a rock. And it shall come to pass, when my glory passeth by, that I will put thee in a cliff of the rock, and will cover thee with my hand while I pass by. And I will take away mine hand, and thou shalt see my back parts, but my face shall not be seen.
All right, so this is the way that the Lord organized to do it. He said he's going to put his hand, over there so he don't see his face, and then when he take away his hand, he going to see my back. But, obviously when the 74 seen him, they couldn't have seen his face. And why Moses is making this request the second time, if he's seen him in his full glory back then with the 74, I don't know. But Moses specifically asked him to allow him to see his glory. So it make it seem like they may not have seen, his full glory back then. But I can't say for sure. And this was Christ, right? We know we get to the New Testament, and let's go over to Corinthians.
I'm glad you're going there, because
Well, they didn't ask anything before. We'll read it in a minute, but
because now that I remember that was Christ,
mhm.
so even to like he don't. It's almost like in the New Testament where he was saying, all right, never mind, go with it.
Nah, go. Say what you was gonna say.
Because even there it says no man has seen his face and lived, but now in the New Testament they see his face and live. But they're not talking about, he was speaking about his spiritual body maybe back then?
Oh, what you mean they seen him as a man? They seen his, yeah,
So that's
well,
what I'm saying, they see his face and
nah.
maybe 2,000 years from then.
He took upon him the form of a servant,
Yeah,
and was made like unto flesh.
right,
So that ain't the same, nah.
okay. That's what
Yeah, he was just like us, We're gonna go to 1 Corinthians 10. Yeah. Yeah, they didn't ask to see him, Brother Joe. I think he had just commanded them that that's something that they was going to do. But we could read that too. But we at 1 Corinthians 10, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. All right. Whenever everybody there.
Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink. For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ.
All right, so at the example where we could go and read about it, it lets you know the 74 people seen him, and that they did eat and drink with him. It say also, he laid not his hand upon them. So they seen him. They ate and drank with him. But yeah, that was Christ. And 1 Corinthians chapter 10, and that was 1 through 4. Go ahead, keep reading.
Verse 5. But with many of them God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness.
All right, so he letting you know further that was Christ back in the wilderness. Now it's calling him God, though. It say, but with many of them, God was, because this is the God they was dealing with, was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. So we know God was killing them off time and time again back in the wilderness for them 40 years. But this was back in Moses' time. Go ahead.
Now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted.
Mm-hmm.
Neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed, and fell in one day 23,000. Neither let us tempt Christ.
Tempt who?
Tempt Christ.
All right, so you're going back and forth, letting you know, just over and over, that this was Jesus back then. He called him, that rock was Christ. Then he say, he called him God in the next thing. Now he back to calling him Christ, and he's still talking about the wilderness. Looking at something else. Let me see. So he said, neither let us tempt Christ. Go ahead.
As some of them also tempted, and were destroyed of serpents.
All right, so now we talk about people tempting Christ and being destroyed of serpents. Let's go and look at Numbers, I think it's 21. I mean, I know you know because you already, it came to you. But we're going to read about this example because there's so many scriptures to show who this was, this God of the Old Testament. That's the lesson I did last week, a couple weeks ago in North Carolina, was Jesus, the God of the Old Testament. We're going to go to Numbers 21 and pick it up at verse 5. Numbers 21 and 5. Go ahead. Oh, they not cutting down trees out back. Go ahead.
And the people spake against God and against Moses. Wherefore have ye brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loatheth this light bread.
Hey, they said, we can't stand this bread, God. Go ahead.
And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much people of Israel died.
All right, so this is what we was just reading about in the New Testament. It's letting us know clearly that was Christ back then. He said in 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 9, he said, neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them tempted in the wilderness, was what he was talking about in verse 7 and 8. He said, neither let us tempt Christ. That's who they was speaking against. As some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. Shoot. It's a lot of ways, but yeah. To tempt somebody, it's like, like I don't think he gonna do, I don't think he gonna hurt me, so I'm gonna try and find out. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much what he mean by it. Yeah, even better. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much always somebody's trying their luck, but it's when somebody got the mindset of like, well, I don't think he gonna hurt me for that. You know what I mean? Like, we go to Luke 4. You say something?
I was going to say that'd be kind of like praying for something, but not really thinking that it could happen. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Yeah, let's read this because he specifically used the word tempt in a couple places, and I think we can get a better idea on what he mean. Luke chapter 4. It's really, tempting them. It partially seems to be the mindset of a person. In their mind, they like, well, I don't think he really going. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. It's another one, Luke 4, And these pages. Let's pick it up at verse 2. Chapter 4. And we're going to pick it up at verse 2. Go ahead. Chapter 4, verse 2. All right.
Being 40 days tempted of the devil, and in those days he did eat nothing. And when they were ended, he afterward hungered.
All right, so we see tempt used in a different way here. It's just like you being tempted with temptation. But go ahead, skip down to verse 6.
And the devil said unto him, All this power will I give thee, and the glory of them. For that is delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I will give it. If thou therefore wilt worship me, all shall be thine. And Jesus answered and said unto him, Get thee behind me, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. And he brought him to Jerusalem, and set him on a pinnacle of the temple, and said unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down from thence. For it is written, He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. And Jesus answered and said unto him, It is said, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God.
All right, so we see, what Satan tried to tempt Christ with by having him, he quote Psalms, saying that it is, what'd he say?
The angels
Where is it
give
at?
charge over thee.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking for verse 10. It is written, He shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee, and in their hands shall they bear thee up, lest it ain't. So he quotes some book saying, well, it is written, so you can do it. He kind of like, why don't you see it, find out and see. But we see Christ said, it is said, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. So we see one form of it. Let me just look up something real quick. I know I'm right there. That ain't it, is it? Nah, I thought it was something in James, but I was thinking of something else. But yeah, it's just like somebody, edging on, like see what he gonna do, Let's go to Exodus 17. Exodus chapter 17. $17. So I was looking for something else, but it's not worded how I thought. But I just looked up the definition of tempt, it just say to entice or to attempt to entice someone to do or acquire something that they may find attractive but know to be wrong or not beneficial. But you know, it's just trying somebody. Basically, they trying God. The way that they use it. Let me see. 17. Pick it up at verse 1.
When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses.
Exodus 17.
Sorry.
Sorry.
And all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin, after their journeys, according to the commandment of the Lord, and pitched in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. Wherefore the people did chide with Moses, and said, Give us water, that we may drink. And Moses said unto them, Why chide ye with me? Wherefore do ye tempt the Lord? And the people thirsted there for water, and the people murmured against Moses, and said, Wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt, to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? And Moses cried unto the Lord.
All right, so you know the people understand. All right, peace, y'all. Love y'all too. So they know that the Lord, you know, brought them out of captivity. They seen all the plagues He poured out on Egypt, but they murmured against Moses, like this was, you know, his agenda or something. But Moses say, why are y'all tempting the Lord? He say, why chide ye with me? Wherefore, or why do ye tempt the Lord? Go ahead. What verse?
4. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, What shall I do unto this people? They be almost ready to stone me. And the Lord said to Moses, Go on before the people, and take with thee of the elders of Israel, and thy rod wherewith thou smote the river. Take in thine hand, and go. Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. And he called the name of the place Massas and Meribah, because of the chiding of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, Is the Lord among us or not?
All right, so that was like them tempting the Lord. They know He with them. They know He led them out of Egypt. They like, is He with us or not? We thirsty. Where the water at? like, why y'all tempting the Lord? Like, y'all know He with y'all. You know what I mean? Y'all, they want to see, is He going to bust them upside the head? But, you know, you can see the examples in where He called it, you know, He called just their mind state, them tempting Him over and over in the Old Testament. And then, you know, every once in a while, He got to go upside their head. So He like, you know, y'all tempting me over, and so He just like y'all asking for it, in other words.
So would Job then be a good example for
Let's see. Satan
messing
tempted
with
him.
them?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, because that'd be an excellent example. I don't think it used the word there. But I think when it talks about it in another book, it used the word. Let me see. Do it say tempt there? It ain't just come up on the.
I don't think so.
It ain't come up in this search. But yeah, you know, it even call anything that we have to endure temptation. Like I say in the New Testament, you know, if need be, at this present time, you might be under manyfold temptations. Because there's things that's, you know, kind of tempting you to, you know,
Go against
to
that.
sin, yeah. Whether it be people being tempted or people tempting the Lord. But yeah, I ain't want to spend too much time on that. You get it though. Hit this Numbers 22 online. So the question online is from Numbers 22. Why did God get angry with Balaam if he told him to go? Numbers. I don't know what's up with this mic today, man. It keep falling off. 22, and let's get some backdrop on the story. Let's see. Pick it up at verse 2, I guess. Let's skip.
Verse 2.
Yeah.
And Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was sore afraid of the people, because they were many. And Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. And Moses said unto the elders of Midian,
Moab.
And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, Now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak, the son of Zippor, was king of the Moabites at that time.
All right, so y'all know how God was delivering all of these lands into the hand of Israel back during these times. And, you know, this is the descendants of Lot, you know, Abraham's brother. So, you know, later on down the line, they descendants like, look, Israel, you know, we see what they did to all these other nations. They're going to do the same to us. So they put a plan in motion. Go ahead.
He sent messengers therefore unto Balaam, the son of Beor, to Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, Behold, there is a people come out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this day, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wot that he whom thou blessest is blessed, and he whom thou cursest is cursed.
All right, so they hire this guy, Balaam, and they're going to pay him to curse Israel because they believe that, you know, whoever this man blessed is blessed, and whoever he cursed is cursed. Now, this is actually, you know, this blessing is something that was passed down, you know, from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. You know, whoever cursed them is going to be cursed, and whoever blessed them is going to be blessed. So obviously this man ain't going to have the authority to break, you know, the word of God. But go ahead, verse 7.
And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand.
All right, so they went out with this money to go pay the guy that was going to curse him. Go ahead.
And they came unto Balaam, and spake unto him the words of Balak.
All right, so he had told him all this that we just read, what to go say to this guy, this sorcerer, or whatever you want to call him. Go ahead.
And he said unto them, Lodge here this night, and I will bring you word again, as the Lord shall speak unto me. And the princes of Moab abode with Balaam. And God came unto Balaam, and said, What men are these with thee? And Balaam said unto God, Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, hath sent unto me, saying, Behold, there is a people come out of Egypt, which covereth the face of the earth. Come now, curse me them. Peradventure I shall be able to overcome them, and drive them out.
All right, so the Lord actually appeared to this guy, you know, asked him who these people were, and he tell him, you know, what mission they on. They wanted to curse the children of Israel after they came out of Egypt. Go ahead.
And God said unto Balaam, Thou shalt not go up with them. Thou shalt not curse the people, for they are blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And Balaam rose up in the morning and said unto the princes of Balak, Get you into your land, for the Lord refuses to give me leave to go with you. And the princes of Moab rose up, and they went unto Balak, and said, Balaam refuseth to come with us. And Balak sent yet again princes, more and more honorable than they. And they came to Balaam, and said to him, Thus saith Balak, the son of Zippor, Let nothing, I pray thee, hinder thee from coming unto me. For I will promote thee unto a very great honor, and I will do whatsoever thou sayest unto me. Come therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people.
Mm-hmm.
And Balaam answered and said unto the servants of Balak, If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of the Lord my God, to do less or more. Now therefore, I pray you, tarry ye also here this night, and I may know what the Lord will say unto me more. And God came unto Balaam at night, and said unto him, If the men come to call thee, rise up and go with them. But yet the word which I shall say unto thee, that shalt thou do. And Balaam rose up in the morning, and saddled his ass, and went with the princes of Moab. And God's anger was kindled because he went. And the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now, when he was riding upon his ass, and his two servants were with him, and the ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand, the ass turned away out of the way.
All right, so, you know, the Lord, so these men came the first night. Where we at? Verse?
I'm at 23.
Yeah. But I'm going back up to 14. Let's see. Balaam rose early in the morning and said to the princes, Get you into your land. So the Lord had already told him not to go at verse 12. He said, Thou shalt not go with them. Thou shalt not curse the people, for they are blessed. All right, so the people, princes of Moab, rose up, and they went unto Balak and said, so, you know, the servants that the king had sent went back the first time, and he sent them again. And they offered him more. I guess they came to Balaam and said to him, Thus saith Balak, son of Zippor, Let nothing, I pray thee, hinder thee from coming unto me, for I will promote thee unto great honor, and I will do whatsoever thou sayest unto me. Come therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people. And Balaam answered and said, so he told him, you know, that he couldn't go, whether he gave him his house full of silver. But I can't say for sure if it was because, you know, he sought the Lord on it again or what. I don't know. Because at 19 he say, Now therefore I pray you, tarry ye also this night, that I may know what the Lord will say unto me more. So, yeah, I can't say, because it was after that he had already told him no, not to go curse him. But then the people came back, and he told them, maybe it was because he told them to stay, but I can't say, you know, as if the word of God was going to change or something, but I don't know. It just happened at his second visit. He told them to stay, and he was going to tell them what the Lord was going to say to him. But, so yeah, the Lord had an angel ready to kill Balaam, and his donkey saw it. Go ahead, 24. Yeah, I can't say why he was angry with him. The only thing I can read is that, you know, he had the people stay the second time they came back.
Wait, why God was angry with him?
Yeah, after he told him to go.
Well, he said not to go.
Yeah, the first time.
No, at 20.
Yeah.
Because he said if the men come and call thee, rise up. But he left before they could call him. You know what I mean? 'Cause it doesn't.
It was already there, though. I don't know. Let's see. It do say if the men come to call thee, rise up and go. They were already there, though.
Yeah,
Right? He told them to tarry
Yeah,
ye
yeah.
also here this night. So they were already there to get him. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, that was what they had came for. They were just hoping the answer was going to change. So I can't say for sure it's just the key. But we can finish reading it. I mean, the only thing, you know, that like I said, that I get from it is, yeah, he had already told them not to go. And then when they came back, he told the men to stay. He said that I may know what the Lord will say unto me more. And that's when the Lord changed his answer. But I can't say for sure. Where'd you leave off at, 23?
Yeah.
Yeah, we in Numbers 22. Yeah, pick it up at 24 if you don't see anything.
But the angel of the Lord stood in the path of the vineyards, and a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself unto the wall, and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall. And he smote her again. And the angel of the Lord went further, and stood in a narrow place, where was no way to turn either to the right hand or to the left. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled. And he smote the ass with a staff. And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? And Balaam said unto the ass, Because thou hast mocked me. I would there were a sword in mine hand, for now would I kill thee. And the ass said unto Balaam, Am not I thine ass, upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, Nay. And the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way.
All right, so y'all see this man's talking to his donkey right now about why he keeps stopping. But yeah, the Lord was going to kill him for this. I mean, keep in mind, though, you know, I don't even know.
I mean,
It,
35 might be your answer, though. Oh, no, not really.
yeah, you know, the Lord ended up having him go to bless Israel. But Balaam, I thought he was like already, you know, I didn't think he was dealing with the God of Israel until the Lord had appeared to him about this matter. Because the Lord he don't be having people to, you know, cursing people and stuff like this. Is what he was known for. He, you know, like some kind of sorcerer. But the Lord did deal with him concerning this matter. But I don't know why he was mad at him, sis. After that, he told him to go. My only guess, like I said, would be that he had already told him not to. What verse did you finish at?
I'm in the middle of 31.
Yeah, go ahead and keep reading. I don't see the answer anywhere in here, though. I know what ends up happening. I don't think he, at any point, really says.
and the sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me. And the ass saw me, and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned from me, surely now also I had slain thee, and saved her alive. And Balaam said unto the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I knew not that thou stoodest in the way against me. Now therefore, if it displease me, I will get me back again. And the angel of the Lord said unto Balaam, Go with the men, but only the word that I shall speak unto thee, that thou shalt speak. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak.
All right. So we see one thing is he tells him, he has the angel to tell him at verse 32 that his way is perverse before him. Because again, I'm pretty sure Balaam wasn't dealing with the God of Israel. They come and hire him. He wasn't, he didn't know Israel. He was related to Israel, the Moabites, at one point. Like I said, that was Abraham's brother. But by now, some years later, they had to tell Balaam, we need you to curse this people coming out of Egypt. And the Lord just was dealing with him on that, telling him he wasn't going to go. Then he told him he would go, he would end up blessing him. But yeah, the Lord was angry with him. And I don't think it says exactly why. You said 23:7. Nah, he has him end up blessing. He actually has him do some prophesying. He has him say some stuff that it's kind of deep. Talking about a star gonna come out of Israel and stuff like that. Talking about Christ. But he don't really say. Like I said, at 20:32, he say that thy way is perverse before me. So that, that kind of lets you know the Lord already don't like what he's doing. But I don't see anything specific. So I can't say. I can see if I can yeah, somebody online saying the same thing, but I can't say for sure. They say that in verse 20, the men did not ask Balaam to go. He just decided to go on his own.
So that's what it kind of looked like, though. Because it says it's just like he rose up and didn't say at 21 that he, was woken up.
I don't know. Maybe that's the answer.
Maybe.
It doesn't say that they asked him, but I don't see anything saying in particular why.
In depth.
So sorry about that, sis. Yeah, where the mic at?
Jake left us.
How many people made it out?
You gotta press it. There's a top button on there.
That green
Oh,
light
you're
is
good,
off.
you're
Make sure the light is on.
How many people made it out of the wilderness
Mm-hmm.
when, because I know he killed a bunch of them, but was it any people left that came out of there?
Yeah, let's go over to Deuteronomy 1. He don't say how many came out.
So two over 30 or 20.
No, I'm gonna go to 1. I think. Yeah, I ain't get there yet, but I think it's Deuteronomy chapter 1.
Or is it?
Yeah, it's one I'm looking for. All right, so We're going to pick it up around verse 30. Actually, we'll start at 34. Deuteronomy chapter 1. I'm going to pick it up at verse 34.
And the Lord heard the voice of your words, and was wroth, and sware, saying, Surely there shall not one of these men of this evil generation see that good land, which I swear to give unto their fathers. Save Caleb the son of Jephunneh, he shall see it, and to him will I give the land that he hath trodden upon, and to his children, because he hath wholly followed the Lord. Also the Lord was angry with me for your sakes, saying, Thou also shalt not go in thither. But Joshua the son of Nun, which standeth before thee, he shall go in thither. Encourage him, for he shall cause Israel to inherit it.
All right, so he named two people by name here. And then what? Go ahead.
Moreover, your little ones, which ye said shall be a prey, and your children, which in that day had no knowledge between good and evil, they shall go in thither, and unto them will I give it, and they shall possess it.
All right, so he said besides the children, which it lets you know, was 20 and under, that everybody else he killed off except Joshua and Caleb. So they're the only two that he brought out that was above 20. And then, it lets you know later on. It might have been a decent amount of people because it lets you know later on in Joshua that he had to circumcise all of the ones that was born in the wilderness because they hadn't been circumcised. And let me see. I think that's in Joshua. You know where's that?
No, I was just thinking, going back to what we were talking about earlier, wouldn't it have been, the Lord said you can't number Israel anyway, so it wouldn't really be possible to have a
All
number.
right, peace, y'all. Well,
Peace.
he had him not to number Levi too, but at one point they did number him. He had let me see.
David?
Nah, even there was
Before
a time, pretty sure where let me see, man. Let me just find Joshua. Yeah, the time I'm thinking about is actually in Numbers. He had told him, that they could number him, but he said not to number the children of Levi. But yeah, after that, let's see. Let me try this. Joshua. I'm gonna look in Joshua 5 and see if we can get an idea. But yeah, like Brother Tyler was saying, God had told them not to number Israel, and I'm not sure if it was just Levi, because I've read about how Satan moved David to number Israel, but back in Numbers he had just told them not to number the tribe of Levi. So I don't know if that was the issue, if that's the only ones. Say again. Yeah. What's up? Yeah, it don't say. I'm in Joshua 5. Children shall ask their fathers. We'll pick it up at Joshua 5 and verse 1.
And it came to pass, when all the kings of the Amorites, which were on the side of Jordan westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites, which were by the sea, heard that the Lord had dried up the waters of Jordan from before the children of Israel, until we were passed over, that their heart melted, neither was their spirit in them any more, because of the children of Israel.
All right, so they just now getting into the land. And, the people hear that the sea had held up like it did with the Red Sea until they all passed over. But go ahead.
At that time the Lord said unto Joshua, Make thee sharp knives, and circumcise again the children of Israel the second time. And Joshua made him sharp knives, and circumcised the children of Israel at the hill of the foreskins. And this is the cause why Joshua did circumcise. All the people that came out of Egypt that were males, even all the men of war, died in the wilderness by the way, after they came out of Egypt. Now all the people that came out were circumcised, but all the people that were born in the wilderness by the way, as they came forth out of Egypt, them they had not circumcised. For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness, till all the people that were men of war, which came out of Egypt, were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of the Lord, unto whom the Lord sware that he would not show them the land which the Lord sware unto their fathers that he would give us, a land that floweth with milk and honey.
All right, so I don't see where it say how many, but he just continued to say, that it was only the children that came out, that he raised them up in his stead. Yeah, it was them two, Joshua and Caleb, and then everybody that was under 20.
So we're going with that. Would that be people that were under 20 when they left Egypt, or just people under 20 that walked into the land?
It was when the Lord made that statement, I believe, about he swore that none of them were going to enter into the land that had tempted him these 10 times, he said. And he's just kind of recounting it in Deuteronomy. But
Okay.
the people were murmuring. That's what they were saying. You brought us out here to die. Our children is going to die. And there was a certain point where the Lord was only, when he made the statement, it was all the people that was under 20. I don't know how much longer they wandered around after he said that they were all going to die in the wilderness.
Yeah.
But it ended up being 40 years total. Let's see. What? Yeah, I mean, it let you know coming out of the wilderness, there were 600,000 counting the women and children. Or, I'm sorry, that was just counting the men, right? We had to read. Yeah, that was just counting the men. 600,000 without women and children. Man, he was killing them,
He opened
all-
up the land on them.
Yeah. I think 23,000 just the one time when they had made the idol. True indeed. Yeah, I can't think of nowhere and say a number. That's the closest I know. There's Joshua. My phone is charging, so I'm gonna have to keep checking this. But we got anything else in the house? Nothing else online. Y'all good in here? All three of y'all. Huh? Yeah, I know. What, you getting tired in there, man? I just said that. He wouldn't shut it down, man. Ain't no more. All right, if nothing else, we're going to stand and face Jerusalem, close out with the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father which art in heaven,
Our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy kingdom come,
thy will be done in earth,
thy will be done in earth,
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Give us this day our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts,
and forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
In Jesus' holy name we pray,
In Jesus' holy name we pray.
the King of kings
King of kings,
and Lord of lords.
and Lord of lords.
Amen.
Amen.